You know, one thing that hating men has trained me for is literally trained me for chasing fucking ICE cars off of my street. 5 of them right now. Following them down the neighborhood, honking, blowing whistles, telling them to fuck off. All that rage that I have felt towards men is coming out. I have been trained for this moment, bitch. I will follow you everywhere.
Hey fam, I was in Minneapolis and look, we just stumbled upon Greg Bovino at a fucking Speedway for a pre-Hague photo shoot. So good for him, I guess. For those following along at home, I have nothing against short men, but I do just have to report back there is about a 4-inch height difference. Do you want to get closer so they can see?
Oh no, a little higher than for you.
Still not the same. So Greg, you're standing right there in front of me, but to everyone following along at home, I hope you fucking eat shit. I hope this keeps you up at night for the rest of your life, and no one fucking wants you here. Oh, fantastic language. There's children in here, and your fucking vehicle, assholes? Choke.
No more ICE! 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 No more ICE!
Shame on you! Oh, I got hit in the head really bad. Fuck. Out of the blue, police are moving forward.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you.
That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran, disabled veteran. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the
All right,
car.
baby, go.
Whoa! Fucking bitch.
Cross our hearts and hope to die.
By these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
Well, I know they're lying. They tricked me once, but they're not going to trick me twice. The time is now. Welcome back to the Professor Penn podcast. David Penn, your host. Glad to be with you as always for episode number 271. Coming to you this January 15th, Thursday night. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Good morning, Tanner.
Good morning.
We record these at 7 a.m. So that gives Tanner time to produce, post-production work during the day. Tanner is my co-creator here. I appreciate his work very much. Happy to be with you as always. Well, not happy. I'm happy to be with you, but it's not happy. Minnesota, ground zero. This is, in my opinion, civil war. Maybe it's the start of a civil war. Maybe it'll peter out. But right now we've got 3,000 federal law enforcement officers from multiple agencies that have been surged into the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul and into the state of Minnesota to try to deal with this issue that President Trump has identified as critical to the future of the country, which is the presence in our communities of millions and millions of people who entered the country illegally. And there'll be people that'll say, well, no, there was a legal process. Whatever the process was or wasn't, the fact that these people have come into the country at the behest of overlords that have a political and economic intent in having them here is, to me, not disputable. What the bid and the ask is in our country is we have a very significant population of people that believe that the sovereignty of the United States is threatened by the presence in our communities of these, what President Biden's administration called newcomers. And then we have a very significant population, we don't know how significant, of people who are willing to die to defend the presence of these non-documented, non-citizen newcomers in our country. The stakes, of course, being the economic fraud associated with these people, which is just starting to become part of the zeitgeist of our time. And then the political, electoral issues and census issues, which are associated with the presence of these people in our communities. It's a big deal. And I think Royce White said something at a town hall that resonated with me. And his comment was that when you have a problem of this magnitude, addressing it is going to get intense. And you can't clean up a mess like this without having some problems. I was talking to a American citizen who was born in Mexico just yesterday, and I asked her how she was doing, and it wasn't really about how she was doing as regards this operation that's going on in Minnesota. I just said, how you doing? And she burst into tears. And she's a friend of mine, and I said, what's up? And she was terrified that she was going to be arrested. And she said to me, if they arrest me, will you help me? And I thought to myself, wow, you're watching news sources that lead you to believe that even as an American citizen, because you have brown skin, you're going to be subject to deportation. And there is going to be accidents. I mean, there's clearly accidents, and there's clearly things going on that are concerning and need to be concerning because we have a large paramilitary, military organization that is now in the streets of an American state and removing people. And while a certain group of folks see this as being very positive, you know, what happens if we have another electoral outcome downstream and these same uniformed, really military members are deployed in some other way? Because that's a job for them, right, Tanner? They got a job.
Yeah.
They got a job to do. And one of the interesting things about the law is it's interpretive, and there's a law for almost anything you could think of. Just because they haven't pulled it out yet and used it doesn't mean that it's not passed and on the books somewhere just waiting for some time. Now, that opening montage, boy, there's a lot of thought-provoking video there. The stridency of women who seem to be at the vanguard, at the forefront of these protests, which I have to say is because of my age. I mean, I'm not shocked or stunned, but I am like, really? I mean, wow. Like when someone just gets on screen and says, I don't know, I can't remember, did she say she hates men or she has rage? I mean, to me, it was a threatening statement. And when someone, did she use the word hatred?
Yeah, I think she said that, how much she hates men.
Oh, man. I mean, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm not of the generation where people were at that stage. Like people will say, this person, even would say, hey, you're a misogynist. I've heard that because, for example, I'm a pro-life person. I believe in God, and I believe that the fundamental is God is the master of life and death. I don't want to, go down with the Titanic on this issue. But my mother, who is a leftist, actually said to me, I'm a white man and I'll never understand that I'm a misogynist because, there's other things involved in it, but pro-life. And so, I don't have these kind of intensities. It's like I come from, and I'm sure this is a problem, like I still open doors for women. And sometimes the women get mad. Most of the time they are happy to take the opportunity to walk through the door. If I happen to ever be single, which I'm not, thank God, I would pay for the meal. Like I got a friend of a friend, and she's 58 years old, and she's trying to get a hookup because she's got no money. So she's looking to find a guy just to get him for the cash. And I'm watching this happen, and I'm saying, wow, this is a business. This is not, there's no pretense for love. It's just, let's audition these guys. But something's happened with the guys my age, because these dudes are my age. They won't even buy this girl a cup of coffee. Something has changed. And what's changed is, and I've heard this, and I don't know, have you ever heard a woman say we don't need men?
Yeah.
I never heard that until recently.
I heard that growing up.
Oh, really?
Like in high school, yeah.
No kidding.
I heard that concept all the way back in high school.
Well, let me tell you about guys my age. We're upstream of this whole thing. So I'm coming into an awareness of a kind of gender conflict. Now, I know this conflict is there, obviously, but the intensity of it that would drive people into the streets. For example, did you, in that montage, you've got a daughter in school. I've got a son still going to high school. And do you know that they closed some school districts here in Minnesota and sent the students home? There's no school this week for tens of thousands of students. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
That is a fact. In fact, the St. Paul Teachers Union sent out a letter that said, this is your moment of choosing. What side of the football are you on? Talking to the union members. Like, hey, solidarity, it's not an option. You're either with us or you're with the Nazis, basically. And so if you saw that one clip, part of the montage, where we had all these protesters, there was a lot of young people there walking along. And I'm thinking to myself, having been involved with 6 children in my life, the temperature yesterday was about 15 degrees?
Yeah, that's pretty cold.
It was cold.
Yeah.
If you were outside for 10 minutes, it was cold. So if one of my kids came to me, forget about protesting, just said, Dad, tomorrow, me and a bunch of my friends are going to go downtown. We're going to be outside all day. I said, no, you're not. Why, Dad? It's too damn cold to be outside all day. Do you have winter weather gear? I don't think we have the right clothing for you to be outside all day. Oh, no, I'm going, Dad. No, you're not. But then you put the next level on. I'm going to protest where the whole world just saw the police shoot somebody in the head 3 times. Where are the parents? First of all, the schools are closed. I'm talking about in the metro. The kids are obviously out protesting in the street. We got the video evidence, and we're going to play a clip here in a second. But I'm thinking the mothers. There's some transition here that I just don't get, because the mothers my age would not want their kids out in the cold all day because they could get sick. But not only could they get sick, they could catch a bullet. So the mothers of my age group would say, you're not doing that. And if there was an outlier mother that said, go for it, there'd be an outlier dad that said, no, you're not. So something has changed. Something has changed. There's a radicalization in our society at the gender level that this is bringing into full and complete relief where I can see it. I had another deal last week. There is a court case that I was tangentially involved with on a issue of custody. And the woman was seeking a 50-year order for protection. 50 years. The dad's never, if the court rules that this is cool, the dad never gets to see his children ever again. 50 years. I mean, the fact that that is even legally submissible as a motion in court is like, how could you do that? But let me just tell you a fact. If you talk to, I mean, I should ask you, you got a young lady in your life?
Yeah.
You know, I hear all the time, those kids belong to me because I'm the mother. And I always say back, no, they don't. They belong to the Most High God. They don't, you're just, and then the fighting starts right there. No, I control these kids. They're mine. They came out of my body. I created them. You created them? Really? Wow. That sounds like you think you're God. And this is something, are you hearing these conversations in your life too? Or am I just cursed to hear them?
No, I've heard them before. It's just, I'm happy that my situation, we moved on from that. But yeah, I've heard that one before.
I mean, my God, I created the children. You're just a sperm donor. I've heard that one too. But my point is there's a gender hatred.
Yep.
And so I'm going to just draw your attention to the last very unfortunate clip, part of that montage, where the officer, after shooting that woman in that scene that will be etched into America's collective unconscious, says, as she drives her car away, she's dead, and she drives her car and, off the road, and he looks at her, looks at the car as it drives away, and he says, fucking bitch. And you can leave that in. And because the reason I'm leaving it in is, okay, man, if you're married, particularly if you're my age, how many times have you been in a fight with your ex-wife, your current wife, your girlfriend, and for whatever reason, you didn't want to have a fight, you had a fight, you lost a fight, you can't really win a fight, and you walk away and turn your back, and under your breath you say, fucking bitch. Because the energy was exactly the same. It was exactly the same. And that's why I say we're not in charge. There's a great scene in The Matrix, which I'm not going to play because if you haven't seen it, watch the movie. You haven't watched The Matrix, have you?
Nope.
Add it to your list, young man. There's a scene where Neo is taken into something called the construct by Morpheus to understand how the computer program works. And a beautiful woman walks by, the woman in the red dress, they call her. And of course, Neo looks at her because she is hot. Because, in 1999, when that movie came out, you could have a scene like that where a man gawks at a beautiful woman who's dressed seductively. I'm not even sure we could have a scene like that today under the circumstances of all this rage against men, because you'd lose half your demographic of potential buyers of a movie ticket. But I digress. Back to the chase. And Neo's looking at the woman in red, and all of a sudden it's Agent Smith pointing a gun at his head. And Neo says, stop, freeze. And then he starts, Morpheus starts to lecture Neo. Maybe I got that wrong. Morpheus says, stop the program. And then he starts to lecture Neo about how the agent works in the construct of all the millions of people that live in this matrix. And he says the Agent Smith is nowhere and everywhere. So why I'm going through this is, what can I do? I mean, what can I really do? Well, walking along and saying, fucking bitch, here's what I believe, and I'm not saying this is right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm going to share personal belief. That's very strong energy. If you listen to it, go back and listen to it again. And men, if you're honest, you've said this. Not all of you, most of you. And
maybe
I know
different versions.
No,
but we've all said that kind of energy, kind of comment.
Oh no, it's exact for me. That's why it hit. I'm just being honest now, because you can't win an argument with the person you love as soon as you start arguing. Because see, for men, We're wrong to argue. Our partners are not going to be wrong, and we're going to be wrong no matter what. I mean, that's just the zeitgeist of the times. I mean, I can remember the number of times I've had a significant other in my life look at me and say, "You're right." I can count it on one hand over 66 years.
Oh, God.
So this is not something. So you just learn. And if you want to have the fight, you're going to get divorced. And I have been. And that's painful. And I have, sadness about that. But my point is, and what I want to say, and why it's said, thoughts are things and words are weapons. When you deny your rage, it doesn't go away. The energy doesn't go away. And I don't even have the right words to describe this. Let's just say it goes out into the ethers. And when millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions and billions of men throughout this planet mutter that under their breath in whatever language they're saying it, because I think this happens in Farsi and in Hebrew and in Mandarin and in French and in German and in Spanish and any language you want to. In fact, do you ever see those clips where they got the large primates beating on each other?
Yeah.
I mean, or the lions, the lion mother paws the lion dad because the lion dad's too rough.
Yep.
I mean, this is out there. And then Agent Smith just showed right up. Now, I'm not saying that was a right or wrong shooting. That's what the courts need to decide. Now, if you ask me for an opinion, I would say that it was a justifiable police killing that possibly could have been unnecessary. But as the thing escalates, it's war in the streets right now. We could see it in the clips. So in the montage, thanks for putting that together. But my point in saying this is we're all connected, whether we know it or not. Our energy, where we are personally with our energy, matters. What I do, what I think, what I feel, how I comport myself is the most powerful thing that I can change. Yeah, I would like there to be peace on earth. I am not capable of creating that by myself, but I can make peace in my own heart, and I can bring peace around myself. And it's whether that theory is right or wrong, that agent was expressing a rage that men feel almost universally, which this could be more of an admission of who I am, and that's fine. I'm just saying, in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, I have felt that energy. I don't want to see people getting killed. Conversely, if women are posting that they hate men, and there's this, on the other side of the equation, there's this buildup of antagonism and activism and in the streets, in your face, as we saw in that shooting. I mean, man, dude, can I tell you, when I was that age, there was no women in the streets, okay? Not like that. I mean, I'm not saying women went out there. Women were out protesting in the 60s, but not like that.
Not pulling it. Okay.
Not like that. The women were there, but they weren't there like that. And I'm going to tell you, back in the day, I don't think cops would have shot women.
Yeah.
I mean, where are you going with that? But now we've reached a whole new level. I'm not saying a cop never shot a woman in the 60s. I'm going to have to do the research on it. What is the frequencies of women being shot by police over time? I wonder if there's data on that, because there's real prohibitions against that. And men still carry, at some level, particularly my generation, a chivalrous kind of respect, and we desire to be loved. And that's just the way it is. I mean, let's not kid around about it, but something has changed. Something has changed when mothers will allow their children to not go to school and be out in the cold in a protest where people are being killed. I mean, that would, to me, be the definition of we're in a civil war. When you send your children out to be killed. because you have to think about it that way. You got to go to the worst case scenario. So something has really changed. And it's out of control. I mean, I just have to say, this is now human emotion that is no longer in an L7. It's no longer in control. No, it's moving, and movement can be positive. I mean, this kind of movement where people are moving, they have strong emotions, we got to get really clear really fast about the handle emotional energy, because it can lead to the kind of violence that ends life. Are you looking this up right now?
Yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to research. I don't think the numbers are really there because I'm only seeing back to like 2015. It's kind of, I think we'll have to dig for numbers and make our own graph.
Well, let's just go on to this first clip with Keith Ellison, and let's look at how our young people are being encouraged as a color revolution to get out into the streets. Let's listen to Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison.
Oh, Attorney General, I'm sorry. I forgot to introduce him. Sorry.
So my name is Keith Ellison, and I am your Attorney General. And you may wonder, what is an Attorney General? The Attorney General is the people's lawyer. That means I'm your lawyer. That means I represent you. That means it's my job to stand with you in court and fight legal battles, and that is why I sued the Department of Homeland Security 2 days ago. We sued them because they are breaking the law. They are breaking the law. Now let me tell you, this escalation, this surge, which is resulting in not only people being beat up, not only people being thrown to the ground, not only people not going to school, not only people not going to work, but it's resulted in the death of one of our neighbors, Renee Good. I want you to remember her name. She's a martyr. She's sacrificed. She's been taken away from us, and we will never forget her. We'll always hold up her memory. Are we right? And I want you to know that this lady, she died when she was trying to help the most vulnerable neighbors in our community. That is when she lost her life, when she was giving of herself to protect others. And that is what you are doing today. You're not afraid of the cold. You're not afraid of ice. You're standing up strong. And I am so incredibly proud of you. Now, I know many of you are like 17 years old, 18, anybody 15, anybody 14, anybody 13. And you guys, you're not the future, you're the right now. You're not what we're hoping for, you're what we got. And your bravery and your courageousness and your willingness to stand up here for all people, all colors, all cultures, all religions, for you willing to stand out here and demand justice means everything. You have the right, you have the right to protest. You have the right. You have the right to organize yourselves and raise your voices. So look, I'm gonna leave now because this is your protest, not mine. I just wanted to be here in support of you. I just want to be here in support of you. I didn't care whether I said a word, but I wanted you to know that I was here with you, fighting with you, standing with you, and it was my great honor to be with you. So keep fighting, stand up strong, don't back down. We will win. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner.
Do you need tires? Go to tireget.com, TIREGET.com. The link is down in the description. I don't know about you, but I don't like waiting in a tire shop or talking to a salesman. TireGet makes it so easy I can order the tires right from my couch. Seriously, it's one website, a few clicks, and the tires are delivered right to your installer. You drop off your car, and boom, your tires are on. Plus, you get to support Free People Radio. So not only do you get tires, but you also get to support your favorite show. We'll even throw in an extra little deal. Just enter promo code FPR in the checkout for an extra 3% off.
Do you have any response to that before I comment on it?
No.
Young man with the child? Your daughter will soon be 13.
I can't believe he kept going lower and lower. You know, when it was 17, I was like, oh man, like, what are you doing? And then he went all the way down to 13. Dude, why are you talking to 13-year-olds about this?
And he commented to them, I'm so happy you're not afraid of ice. And let me tell you, I'm afraid of them.
Yeah.
Because they're badass.
And they don't mess around.
Oh,
it's like we're that, and that's what I mean by on the last podcast that we were together, I said that it feels like they're throwing themselves out of danger that they don't. I don't know.
They don't.
I wish I had the words, dude. It's like a monkey messing with a sleeping lion. It's like you gotta be smarter than this.
So he's inciting these young people who obviously are in the streets because their school system has raised them to be in the streets. Every time we've been, for 271 episodes, I've been talking about the educational system of this country and how it was corrupted, going back into the early 1900s, by the influx of European refugees that came into this country, many of them Jewish, escaping the leftism of the Europe, and they brought with them two non-American ideologies, one Marxism and the other Darwinism. And they infected this country with a European illness that now President Trump has said, hey, the buck's, Harry Truman said the buck stops here. No, Trump is going for it. In fact, while we were playing that clip, Trump just was reported to have threatened the deployment of the U.S. military into Minneapolis to quell these protests. I mean, I'm talking about the tanks rolling in, the half tracks with 50 cals. We'll see if that settles people down, because they'll use them. So here's the issue. Back to Keith Ellison before I get to the issue. Keith Ellison used to be a U.S. congressman from CD5 before Ilhan Omar became Minneapolis's representative in the U.S. Congress. It was Keith Ellison. And he resigned. He gave up his job in the big show. And I remember when he did that, I thought to myself, why would you come back to run for Attorney General of the state of Minnesota when you're already you're in the big show? You're in Hollywood, baby. You're in Hollywood. City Angels. Oh, no, it's Washington, D.C. Same thing for ugly people. And he came back, he quit that job, didn't run, passed the baton to Ilhan Omar, and was elected as the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. Why did you do that? Well, let me tell you. I was wrong. I've been saying there's like 20, 30,000 non-governmental organizations in Minnesota. No, I'm seeing it's 40,000. And all 40,000, or whatever the number is, of non-governmental organizations, 501c3s and C4s, like the different, Somali learning centers, Somali transport services for medical problems, all the different companies that are providing public benefit. They're not for-profit corporations. They are non-governmental organizations. They're special. They're not there to make money. But all this money is rolling through these. In fact, we're talking about $9 billion of fraud. I saw this morning, we'll play it maybe. What's the name of that guy, the young kid, the 23-year-old, Nick?
Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley ran a clip yesterday where he was interviewing a United States Customs and Border Protection agent, retired, who used to work at the MSP airport.
Yeah.
And he said some Somali came through every day with somewhere between 600,000 and 1.5 million every single day in duffel bags. They declare it and take it out of the country. And he said, we used to ask ourselves, where's all this money coming from? I think he said on that clip, it started in 2017. We got so many clips, I didn't bring it, but if you want to put it in, you'll find it easy.
Yeah.
My point is,
it's crazy because this is not the first story that I've heard of this idea of duffel bags just full of cash.
Well,
So it's something to look into.
But I always ask myself, why did Keith Ellison leave his job in show business and come back because he's now the attorney for the people? Well, if there is a racketeering criminal enterprise going on here run by the Democrat Party that's blowing up right in front of our face, wouldn't it be great to have your chief attorney, the attorney general, the top dog, the guy in charge of all of these not-for-profit, non-governmental organizations, run the deal? I mean, he decides who gets prosecuted.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Keith, if you're watching, I don't want to beef with you, dude, but I'm only saying this. It's not me. Your beef is with Stephen Miller, a top White House official who was recently interviewed, and he said Tuesday evening, 2 days ago, federal law enforcement now has the resources to protect its officers and to begin the work of, quote, identifying, disrupting, and dismantling the insurgent networks, unquote, hampering immigration and customs enforcement operations in Minnesota. President Trump, I mean, how can Keith Ellison get down on me? He's got big fish to fry. He's got big enemies. President Trump posted up on Truth Social, quote, fear not, great people of Minnesota, the day of reckoning and retribution is coming. Wow, reckoning and retribution. That sounds like you got nothing to lose. And I'm thinking about, what is President Trump doing? Well, President Trump, we've called him on here. Remember, I've called him the great unmasker?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing he unmasked was the Chinese back in 45. I mean, the Chinese were always our great friends, looking for a win-win cooperation. And all it took was a 25% tax for us to find out they're not really our friends. And he's led us pretty much. And if you don't know it, and I was just with the Chinese last week, I'm still doing business with Chinese people. And I looked at a guy and I said, hey, dude, our countries are at war. Our countries are at war. And he looked at me. He didn't get upset. He knows. He knows. I said, you and I are not personally at war. And in fact, if we comport ourselves with some dignity, perhaps we might be able to do something to lessen these tensions. But, you know, hey, as we're going to talk about downstream, if what you're doing keeps up, this will not have a good result. So Miller goes on. He says, quote, speaking to the officers here in Minnesota, federal agents, you, quote, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. Anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator, or domestic insurrectionist, that'd be civil war, can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. The Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice. He continued. He described the anti-ICE riots going on today in Minneapolis and in the Twin Cities as a sophisticated insurgency in a domestic terrorist operation. Mayor Jacob Frey, these are quotes now. This is Stephen Miller. This is not a nobody. This is a somebody. Mayor Jacob Frey, Governor Tim Walz, and Attorney General Keith Ellison have deliberately, willfully, and purposefully incited this violent insurgency against immigration and customs enforcement and against Border Patrol. The Civil War has started, and it started right here. And you tell our audience, how long does it take to drive from where we are to get right in the middle of this shit?
10 minutes.
10 minutes away.
Yeah.
So Free People Radio is at the epicenter of this problem. We've been at the epicenter since day one. And we're going to talk in a minute about the patriot economy and the importance of going to Tire Get and buying your tires. I had an order this morning. I popped in early. I was in the office when you came in. Somebody who loves Free People Radio bought a set of tires.
Woo.
Now, the point is, we fund this operation through the sale of tires. Now, there are people that broadcast on Free People Radio that get millions and millions of views. I'd like to get millions of views, but I got 10,000 people watching this podcast. 2,500 of you need tires this year. 2,500. If all 2,500 of you remember to call me to buy your tires, half the overhead of this studio will be paid for. I'm not talking about profit. I'm talking about half the loss will go away. So please, when you need tires, we're in a civil war. Please support the organizations and the people that are putting it on the line for you. Because if not now, when? And if not you, who? If not now, if you're not going to do it now, and if you're not going to do it, who's going to do it? When are they going to do it? The war has started. Would you agree with me, or am I being over dramatic?
I think we're right at the doorstep, yeah.
Well, people are getting shot. They shot somebody else last night. Did you see that?
Yeah. I think once I see shots coming from both sides, but once that military rolls in, I think that's what's going to happen.
I think everybody will go home when the military rolls in.
We'll see. I don't know.
Maybe not. These people that are walking around in the communities right now are pretty threatening.
Yeah, that's what
armed
I'm saying.
Dudes,
I think
masked dudes that are armed in body armor are a formidable.
And we're just told by the president that they have full immunity.
No, by Stephen Miller, who's representing the president. Let's not put words in the president's mouth, because he's saying enough all on his own. All on his own. And these people are funded. Okay, there's an organization called the Sunrise Group. They are the primary organizers of this. Sunrise operatives on the ground in the Twin Cities are circulating lists of hotels housing ICE agents and coordinating late-night disruption campaigns, often involving noisemakers aimed at coercing hotels and other local businesses into refusing to serve ICE personnel. Sunrise has received $2 million from the Open Society Foundation. That's George Soros's non-governmental organization. Since 2019, $150,000 from the Ford Foundation in 2024, and $550,000 again in 2025, and $250,000 from the MacArthur Foundation in 2024, according to grant databases and tax filings. Sunrise works with two local groups, Unidos Minnesota and Defend the 612. Both of these maintain Minnesota Ice Watch, a covertly maintained Instagram page that posts training slides calling on its followers, a group that reportedly included Renee Good's wife, to block, push, and otherwise obstruct officers making arrests. Miller continued, Americans voted in a landslide to uphold the sovereignty of this country. Americans by overwhelming majorities oppose mass Somali fraud. Americans by overwhelming majorities oppose Somali refugee resettlement in principle, so the public is behind this. Trump added, we don't have to put words in his mouth. He speaks quite adequately for himself. Do the people of Minnesota really want to live in a community in which there are thousands of already convicted murderers, drug dealers and addicts, rapists, violent released and escaped prisoners, dangerous people from foreign mental institutions and insane asylums, and other deadly criminals too dangerous to even mention? All the patriots of ICE want to do is remove them from your neighborhoods and send them back to the prisons and mental institutions from where they came, most in foreign countries who illegally entered the USA through Sleepy Joe Biden's horrible open borders policy. Every place we go, crime comes down. In Chicago, despite a weak and incompetent governor and mayor fighting us all the way, a big improvement was made. Thousands of criminals were removed. Minnesota Democrats love the unrest that anarchists and professional agitators are causing because it gets the spotlight off of this is Trump's number, $19 billion that was stolen by really bad and deranged people. Fear not, great people of Minnesota. The day of reckoning and retribution is coming. And then later he posted, and this says quite interesting, effective February 1st, no more payments will be made by the federal government to states for their corrupt criminal protection centers, known as sanctuary cities. In other words, any state that has sanctuary cities is going to get cut off from federal funds. That's called hitting them in the pocketbook. Strangling out the money. In other words, the money, your taxpayer money, is actually going to fund what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is saying, not no more. So guess what's going to happen? These people are going to have lawyers, and they're going to sue, and some federal judge will block the Trump administration's effort to cut off the money. That's what's going to happen. But what President Trump is doing is he's bringing this in to the public zeitgeist, he's the great unmasker. Could you please play that Tim Burchett clip that was recorded last night after a very disappointing vote in the U.S. Congress?
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett leaving the House floor in total disgust. Chip Roy's amendment to reduce the District of Columbia Appeals Court funding by 20% and strike the salary and expenses funding of Judge Boasberg and Boardman's staff. And you know that bunch, what they've been pulling, it's ridiculous.
Will you stop that just for a sec, Tanner? That Judge Boasberg, he's in the D.C. Circuit. He's the judge that has been issuing injunctions and gumming up President Trump's efforts. So there was a bill, and they wanted to defund his office. And Republicans voted in very large numbers. I think 47 Republicans voted with the Democrats and continued the funding of this federal judge. Let's continue.
In my opinion, they completely got out of whack with what's going on. The next one was my buddy Eli Crane, Navy SEAL, unbelievable guy, one of my favorites up here. He prohibits funding for the National Endowment for Democracy. And that was, I forget how many millions of dollars, and that didn't pass. I don't. I'm so frustrated with this bunch up here. And then, of course, the big bill, it cost $90.1 billion. And guess what? It passed because it had all that garbage in there. It sends $1.425 billion to Egypt, and then we're going to give Jordan build them a wall, and they're firing missiles at other people. What the hell, folks? Excuse my language. $6.15 billion for foreign military financing program. And yeah, they're going to come back and say, oh, they're going to buy a bunch of arms from us. Well, my mama used to say, I don't like making my living off of suffering of others, and that's just pathetic. I don't know. I'm just disgusted with it. We've came up here to do something, and we're not doing it. And they're going to pat themselves on the back. It was less than the last one, but we're funding a bunch of garbage. And it's a lot of this stuff we're funding, actually, when you dig into it, is funding stuff that Trump did away with. So you got to ask yourself, where the heck does the dadgum money go? And nobody's asking those dadgum questions. It just, to me, it's pathetic, and it's disingenuous to the American public, and we need to start holding people accountable. So anyway, I'll keep voting my conscience, and we'll see what happens. Thank y'all for sending me here.
We are not in charge. We're living in a PSYOP. We are not in charge. I am not in charge. I'm living in a constructed reality, a theater, political theater, and this man steps out and tells the truth. And, caucus is coming up. It's February 3rd. Do I believe that there's going to be a surge of a new 50,000 Minnesotans to go into caucus so that we can change this? No. Change is moving slow. In other words, the left is in the streets, well-funded, not afraid of our law enforcement, not following the law, but claiming that they are, protecting people that are here illegally, which is a giant business. I mean, we've been talking about this. The housing, the education, the medical care of these people is 20% of some of these counties' budgets. It's huge. It's billions and billions of dollars. I'm paying for it. You're paying for it. Our own community, our American community, we're suffering. I mean, there's no money, which we're going to talk about in a second also. This is only going to change when good American citizens get involved. And I think to myself, okay. I'm not doing this right. I mean, I'm not doing the podcast right. And I got to change because this is about personal empowerment. I am not going to be abused myself personally. That's just the way I am. No, I'm divorced because of it. And of course, around my campfire, oh, hey, guess what? It's my fault. No, it wasn't. I lived with a rageful woman who I tried to get help for because I loved her. And it was starting to crush me because every day I was getting screamed at. I can't scream back. You know, I'm threatening and I'm highly trained. I mean, you know, I don't want to go to jail. My only recourse after therapy, prayer, was to give up that marriage. And it was my fault. No, it was not my fault. People have problems, man and woman, white, black, green, blue. It doesn't matter. People have histories. We're living in a fallen world. It is incumbent upon me to evolve myself. I can't evolve anybody else. That's their choice. They want to stay trapped in an illusion of being controlled in a PSYOP, that they hate men, they're full of rage because they got raped or they got this or they that. I realize these are serious issues. If I start telling you all the things that have happened to me in a lifetime, it'd fill 20 podcasts. It's all irrelevant. I'm a Republican. I believe in human freedom. I believe in human dignity. I drop my bags. I try to save my republic. But really, I'm trying to save my own ass. And how do I do that? How do I save my own ass? Just as a model, how you might think about this for yourself. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked advanced against me to devour me, it is my enemies and my foes who will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. For in the day of trouble he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock. Then my head will be exalted above the enemies who surround me. At his sacred tent I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord. Hear my voice when I call, Lord. Be merciful to me and answer me. My heart says of you, seek his face, your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not reject me or forsake me, God, my Savior. Though my mother and father forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Teach me your ways, Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors. Do not turn me over to the desires of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, spouting malicious accusations. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Now, this is something I can do. This is something powerful I can do. Now, could you imagine if all the men of the world read that psalm? instead of walking away saying fucking bitch? See, we have the rule book. We have the solution. They teach us the Bible like it's a history, like it's a story. And it is. It's a creation myth. It tells us what happened in the ethers of time. But all time is right now. It's a handbook on how to get ourselves out of this situation. And of course, you actually got to do it. See, it doesn't work if you really, it's not about going to church on Sunday for an hour and then getting home in time to watch football. That's not what it's about. I'm sorry. I wish it was that easy. And you know what? When we're in a first turning or a second turning, it is kind of that easy because somebody else has already died to make the world safe for me. Which is a whole other conversation we're going to get to. This is a packed podcast, dude. I mean, I can't even fathom all the things. But the line in that Psalm 27, even if your mother and father have forsaken you, or your children don't talk to you, or you're maliciously maligned by people who speak untruths about you, the Lord knows the truth and will receive you. Get to that place, and this country is healed. Just that simple. While ICE is out there arresting thousands and thousands of people and flying them out of the country, they actually have flights leaving from Minneapolis St. Paul Airport. Did you notice that? They're taking them right to MSP and loading them in planes and flying them out of here.
Really?
Yes, they are.
Yeah?
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. By the thousands. And of course, an operation of this size, look what's going on. Am I supposed to believe that the Democrat Party in Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, Tina Smith, Waltz, Ellison, Flanagan, and all the people in the legislature didn't know about this? Didn't know about these billions and billions of dollars that were being misused and abused? I mean, this stuff, man, I heard about this money going out through MSP a long time ago. I mean, we were bringing Somali people on the podcast trying to get to the bottom of this. Mm-hmm. And I actually had Republicans attack me for that because I was trying to get to the truth. Okay, I wasn't trying to get to the truth for me. I was trying to get to the truth. But see, this is why Trump is the great unmasker. The PSYOP is being revealed. Our tax dollars is funding what? Where's all this money going?
Yeah.
And here comes Burchett right out of the Congress, and they're still doing it as recently as last night. Well, I looked at the Republican Congress people who voted with the Democrat, and I'm proud to report that the 4 Minnesota Congress people, Emmer, Fischbach, Stauber, Finstad, voted with the Republicans. Maybe that has something to do with us holding them accountable. Maybe it has something to do with Free People Radio. Because if they had crossed that line, this has been a different podcast today. And that's what's so great about Republicanism. Anybody can have a baggage drop and grow a spine. So let us not be so quick to impugn anyone at this moment. The great unmasking can change people's hearts and minds. They can go, maybe I better get right with the Lord. It's getting a little bit end times this. Rumors of war. Just had a rumor of war that all over the internet last night, we were going to attack Iran last night. Rumors of war. Wars and rumors of war. Everywhere. Trump's hitting him in the pocketbook. He's cutting the cash off. That's going to bring him out in the street, and that's why he's doing it. He's cutting the cash off. He wants you to see these federal judges stopping him, and he wants you to know their names. He wants you to see these 47 Congress people that are voting for these appropriations, or the Republicans that are voting against the SAVE Act, which is something we'll talk about, which is a very simple thing. If you're going to vote, prove that you're American citizen. And see, now this is right in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune today. A headline article on the front page. Here's the headline. Are you ready?
Ready.
No widespread illegal voting by migrants. It's a reprint of a New York Times article written by Alexandra Berzon and Nick Corasaniti. Kind of an interesting name. It was a common refrain for Donald Trump and his allies during the 2024 campaign. The Biden administration was purposely encouraging mass numbers of immigrants to cross the border in order to vote illegally. And guess what? According to the New York Times, the results so far indicate that there is no evidence of widespread fraud, according to interviews with government officials and documents reviewed by the New York Times. Out of 49.5 million voter registrations that have been checked, the department referred around 10,000 cases to Homeland Security investigations for further investigation of non-citizenship, or roughly 0.2% of the names processed. Sounds like the whole thing's a scam, doesn't it? I know my mother reads this paper every day. She read the headline. The headline, no widespread illegal voting by migrants. If you're in a hurry, all you do is read the headline. Maybe you read the first paragraph. But you know, they have to be honest, right? They have to be honest. They can't come. See, propaganda has got to have some truth in it or it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So if you read down, and it's a very long article, they start talking about what's really going on. But see, if you only read the first 2 or 3 or 4 paragraphs, you're going to think, wow, this whole thing with this is all trumped up. It's trumped up. But actually, if you do your research, which the New York Times alludes to, the Trump administration has sued Arizona, swing state, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, swing state, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, swing state, Minnesota, Nevada, swing state, New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, swing state, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and Wisconsin, swing state. Sued them for what? To get the voter rolls, to take a look to see who's on the voter rolls, to see if there's illegal immigrants on the voter rolls. All those states, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 states, almost half the states in the union, refused to give the government the voter rolls for them to review. Now, the New York Times alludes to this, but not the first paragraph. The headline could have been 23 states refused to turn over voter rolls for examination. That could have been the headline. It's however you want to pitch the news. The headline they ran was, today, you can go look at it. It's in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. No widespread illegal voting by migrants. Well, yeah, I'm sure there's not too much in Florida or Texas. In Texas, if there's a hint of it, Ken Paxton throws your ass in jail. The Attorney General of Texas has a different perspective on this than the Attorney General of Minnesota. The Attorney General of Minnesota has sued to prevent the federal government from getting the voter rolls here. Why? Well, they have this story. It's not secure. It could be public record, compromising of privacy. They got all kinds of reasons. All kinds of reasons. But 27 states turned it right in. They didn't have those same reasons. Maybe because their voter rolls only have 10,000 problems out of 50 million registered voters. This is called a PSYOP. This is called a scam. This is called, we're not in charge of what's going on in our lives. We don't have a democracy or a republic. We're living in a PSYOP. And we better wake up. But it's not me waking you up. It's you waking you up like I woke me up. And I'm just going to say the PSYOP is quite intense. Let's just talk for a minute about what happened in Venezuela. Did you see all the reports of super soldiers going down there and slaughtering the guards, and the air defenses didn't work, and there was a secret weapons that had never been used before? Have you ever seen any of that?
I think I heard word about the secret weapons being used.
Well,
nothing much after that. I haven't heard
there's
much.
been a lot about this. If you go online, there's a lot of reporting that there was only 20 special operators. Adam Schwartzy jumped up and took credit for this, I noted, because I decided to follow Adam because I want to see what he's saying. And you know what happened, Tanner, when I started following Adam? A PSYOP. Why don't you start playing? If you look in the script, there's many pictures of veterans. You can start with the first one from Doc Strangelove. Former Delta Force medic John Steinball, who after his service helped head up the XStat, a specialized syringe design. Anyhow, this shows up in my X feed right after I started following Adam. And then guess what? It's constant. Let's look at the next one that I just clipped. Here's another guy. Oh my goodness gracious. U.S. Navy SEAL Chad Wilkinson took his own life while approaching his 21st year active duty and experienced multiple combat deployments. His body and his mind had taken too much. So here's a very good-looking young man, a SEAL, just like Adam Schwartzy, killed himself. Well, that's a tragedy. Let's look at the next one. October 29th, 2018, another SEAL. I happen to follow Adam. He's a SEAL. Chad Wilkinson took his own life. Another one. Oh, my goodness gracious. These people are given so much, they're killing themselves. Oh, here's another one. The next guy. Well, we love old veterans. Meet Mr. Howard, a 99-year-old World War II veteran who served in the 13th Air Force and fought the Japanese in the Philippines. Oh, boy. Wow, dressed up in his uniform, 99 years old. Next one. Here we go. This is right out of Adam's mouth. He says it at every meeting. Failure is not an option. I've heard Adam say that 6 times because I've been at 6 deals with him, 5 times, whatever. So, I mean, multiple times. He always says, this is the most important mission I've ever been on, and failure is not an option. And it's running right through my feed from the Navy SEAL Foundation. I never saw any of this until I started following Adam. Now, Adam, I don't know if you're in on this. I don't even know if you know about it, but this is a PSYOP. And there's Tim Burchett talking about Eli Crane, one of his favorite Congress people, who's a SEAL. I'm not saying SEALs are good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not. But there sure seems to be an effort to glorify our military and our military veterans. And this is a very sticky issue, isn't it? Because we've been at war my entire life. And I said on the last podcast, when our special operators that I pay for, that I know people like this, when they landed in Venezuela and plucked Maduro out of there, my first emotion was pride. I'm just being honest. That was the first thing I felt, Adam, was pride in my country's ability to do what? To kill people. And I got to tell you, that's a PSYOP. Because Cain slew Abel, and Abel's blood cried out from the sand to the Lord. And Cain said, am I my brother's keeper? Where's your brother? Am I my brother's keeper? And what we've done is we have glorified murder by making it in service to the state. And if we don't do it, we're going to get conquered. We are in a pretzel, aren't we? If we disarm, we will be conquered. We got a civil war right in our streets. We have enemies, who I know are enemies, that seek to do us harm and are doing us harm. Well, we live in hell. We live in hell. I can't tell you how to solve this, but I can tell you how I solve it for myself. I seek to be a righteous person. I seek to put down my addiction to sin. I will sacrifice my sin on the altar of my faith so that I can be free of these illusions that lead us into perpetual violence, perpetual war, revolution. We're not living in a very good time. So I'm urging everyone to reclaim your personal power through prayer and thanksgiving. You want peace? Whatsoever you wish for when you pray, believe you'll receive it, and ye shall have it. I mean, we're down to that now. I mean, we're either going to, because we don't have the technological means to solve this. We don't have the will of the American people to solve this. I'll tell you if we do, because I'll know, because we'll go to caucus, and there'll be 100,000 people that show up instead of 15,000, and I'll report that. Like when I go to my caucus room and there's 100 people in there, instead of the last time I went, there was about 6 or 8. Oh, I'll report it. But I don't feel any great increase in citizen engagement. Do you?
Mm-mm.
It's not happening.
Not happening.
So we have to keep wise about what our strategies are. And my strategy is to work on my own spiritual well-being, my own physical well-being. We need warriors, but we don't need to be at war all the time. We're told peace comes through strength. Maybe peace comes through submission to God. Maybe it doesn't come through strength. Maybe it comes through something that we just don't have our minds around yet. TireGet.com, where convenience meets the road. Why make buying tires complicated? With TireGet.com, it's simple. TireGet.com, one site, a few clicks, and the tires of your choice are shipped to an installer right by your house. Okay, because we're talking about the need for a military, the perversion, the way we're pretzeled with the military, all the hell that's in this world. I just want to read this. From heaven, the Lord looks down and sees all mankind. From his dwelling place, he watches all who live on earth. He who forms the hearts of all, who considers everything they do. No king is saved by the size of his army. No warrior escapes by his great strength. A horse is a vain hope for deliverance. Despite all its great strength, it cannot save. But the eyes of the Lord are on those who fear him, on those who hope is in his unfailing love, to deliver them from death and keep them alive in famine. No king is saved by the size of his army. No warrior escapes by his great strength. No matter what comes through my feed, or no matter who tries to act and pose, we're living in a hell. We're just living in a hell. And the way out of this is our own personal reclamation of our personal power, and also to just search for truth and try not to lie. So let's play this clip from Scott Bessent.
In October, we had the best trade number, the smallest trade deficit since 2009. I've been in the investment business 35, 40 years. When I first started, 1980s, 1990s, trade used to contribute to GDP. But then we got to these massive trade deficits, and it was, Ross Perot said, it was a giant sucking sound. So everyone was, oh my gosh, it was unexpected that the GDP was so strong in October. It was strong because of exports. And again, what's not going reported anywhere is that the trade deals that President Trump has done and Jameson Greer has negotiated the details in a magnificent way, is the headline is always the tariff. The U.S. has put a 15% tariff on Europe, 15% tariff on Japan, 18, 19, 20% on Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam. The other side of that ledger, Steve, is why we saw that big GDP number, because Jameson is going in with a machete, and with President Trump's backing and insistence, our trading partners are taking down their high tariffs down to zero. They're removing the non-tariff trade barriers. And that's why we're seeing this export flow pick up. And nobody wants to talk about that. The other thing, too, is, as I've said many times, that the Trump economic – oh, go ahead.
No. Well, just one thing. When we had Joe LeBron here the other day, and I want you to read – they had exports up 30%, imports down 30%, smallest trade deficit we've had in decades. And the Financial Times of London and the Wall Street Journal will just not take that basic number and just address it. Also, the tariffs, there's been no data at all that showed there's been any price increases. Joe Lavarney said, your guy over at Treasury, we're about to have a disinflationary boom, which is extraordinary.
Well, that's the great Steve Bannon talking with our Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent. Searching for truth is sometimes take you some places you don't want to go. And I respect Steve Bannon, and I'm sure that if these trends continue, they will justify the tariff policy. And I do think that's how it's going to turn out. I mean, I think downstream, it's possible that our export flow will increase. And I think it's possible that with the onshoring of jobs, our importation will decrease. But I'm a little bit more in the trench, and I spent a little bit of time looking at these numbers. And I do want to say the October trade numbers were just released. Remember we had a government shutdown? Remember the government shutdown?
Yep.
So they're behind on getting these numbers out. So they said in October, imports were down 30%. They weren't down because imports are down. They were down because the full reciprocal tariff was implemented on October 7th. It was phased in. First there was 10%, which was many, many months ago, last spring, and then President Trump imposed the full reciprocal International Economic Emergency Powers Act reciprocal tariffs on October 7th. There was front loading. Businesses tried to get their products delivered before the final imposition of the full tariff. So the October import numbers were depressed for that reason, that there was what they call front loading. The other reason was business sucks. Okay? I mean, all you got to do is be in business to know if you're in a traditional business like the tire business is not great. The ass is not falling off the donkey, but there's nothing great going on. Another reason why the numbers are low for imports, because they add them up, what the value is. It's my belief that because there's now a very large, almost 30% in some cases, tax at the border, there's a lot of fraud going on. And I mean fraud. I mean across all industries and all products, there are companies that are called pop-up entities that are owned by offshore people. And here's what they do. They take a $100 item. It's $100. The tax used to be 4%. So to get it in the country, the tax was $4. I mean, how much fraud can you do on $4? But now the tax on that item is almost $30. So what they do is they take that $100 item, and I'm not going to get into all the mechanics of it, but they say it only costs $60. So that depresses the value of the import by 40%, down to $60. Now that $40, they don't pay the tax on that $40, and that saves $12. What does that do? It lessens the tax that's collected, which is critical to the maintenance of the dollar. It depresses the import numbers artificially, and it savages any businessman like TireGet.com that doesn't cheat. If you're honest, you're screwed. Does that make some sense to you? I don't think Scott Bessent knows that. I don't think Steve Bannon knows that. I don't think they're lying. I just don't think they recognize what's going on to us that are actually down in the trench with bayonets economically.
The one thing I have to ask, because I'm just kind of confused, if they come to the board and they're bringing it in and they devalue or they say it's $60 as opposed to $100, where does that? Aren't they eating that $40?
No, they got a second invoice.
So then once it's in,
they got a company over in Singapore or Hong Kong or China, and they got a U.S. pop-up entity, and the parent company sends 2 invoices to the pop-up entity. The pop-up entity uses the suppressed value invoice to clear customs, but when they bill the American buyer, they bill for the full value.
Full value.
Then they pay both invoices back, and they've avoided a lot of tax. Man, I'm putting this out there at great risk because I want our government to deal with this, because when you're honest and you won't do it, and you know what's even more crazy about it? There's a way to do it legally called the doctrine of the first sale. But these people don't want to do it legally. They are doing it to undermine and to push the limits and to see what they get away with. And guess what happens? If the United States Customs and Border Protection, the same people that are out arresting these newcomers, it's the same agency. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because the border has 2 components, people and products. The border is now closed to the people. And the ones that I got in here when it was opened, they're getting them out. The product side needs some work. So we have what's called a country. That's on the import side. Now they said the exports were up. And I do believe that over time, the trend will be our exports could increase because foreign trade barriers are being taken down. There is going to be an increase in agricultural exports. We are making progress. So I'm not going to sit here and call these dudes liars. They're leaders, and I think that they're seeing something, and they're hoping, and they're selling, and they know things are going to get better, or at least they hope so. But I looked at the export numbers, and it wasn't manufactured goods. Do you know why the export numbers were up?
Why?
Gold bullion. Gold bullion. That's why there was a 30% surge in October exports. Physical metals are at an all-time high. And this is according to Grok, the main driver behind the overall $7.8 billion rise in total U.S. exports in October was non-monetary gold exports, which increased from September to October by $6.8 billion. So we're searching for truth here at Free People Radio. We have to hold our leaders accountable. People are busy. People are seeing positive numbers. Maybe they don't think all of it through. I do on this number. I'm going to look at the November numbers, the December numbers. You know, imports can drop because business sucks. That's not a positive. And I'm going to tell you right now, a 20% tax doesn't stop anything. It just raises the price. But guess what the Chinese are doing? They're offsetting it through value suppression. That's why Steve Bannon talked about a deflationary boom. Yet the prices are coming down. But maybe not for the reasons we think. Does that make sense? Did I explain that?
Yeah.
So that's why we got to go to TireGet. Okay, I want to talk about the patriot economy just for a minute. The patriot economy is something you might have heard about. Guess who came up with that idea? Me. That's my coin. I coined the phrase patriot economy. I know I did. And I know who I gave it to. And now it's proliferated. What is the patriot economy? It's about you as an American citizen supporting the companies and the products of the people and companies that are working to save the republic, as opposed to giving your money to somebody else. You vote with your money every day. Where do you spend your money? Now, I realize people are busy and they don't want to take the time necessarily, and I include myself in this. I mean, there are companies that have such well-organized websites and they make it so easy to do business that just from a time savings, it just makes sense to do it. But we're not helping ourselves. Do you know that funding these leftist organizations is Jeff Bezos's ex-wife? that she has funded since 2019? $29 billion of donations, in many cases to leftist causes. She's given more money than George Soros. That's the Amazon money. It's fun. Now you're going to say, well, they're divorced. Are they? With that kind of money? You think they're not really still working together in some way, shape, or form? Maybe not. Maybe yes. I don't know. But I know she got a truckload of cash and $29 billion of donations of charitable giving. Ooh, that's some big money. $29 billion. $29 billion.
Yeah.
That's Amazon. That's Amazon. Boy, they got a great website. Boy, is that convenient. But you can go to Target.com and it's convenient. And if 2,500 people of the 10,000 people that are listening to this podcast would support Free People Radio, and you can use a promo code at checkout, FPR. F for Frank, P for Paul, R for Radio. Free People Radio. You can use FPR at checkout. We'll give you 3% off on an already super low price. The price is right. The warranty is perfect. We put the tires out in your own backyard. I'm asking you, please fund Free People Radio. We need your business. 25% of you need tires right now. And all of you, every one of you could go right after this broadcast, the freepeopleradio.com /store, and buy a dozen of these Just Right t-shirts and hand them out to people. Give them away, because we're not far right. We're right. We're just right. We're doing our homework. I'm not saying we're right about every issue. I just called out the leaders of my own movement and said, I don't really agree about this. What does that tell you? I'm not a cultist and I'm not afraid. And I'm going to tell you, I'm probably going to get a phone call about that. I'm going to tell you, Scott Bessent, you know where he went when he was in town? He went to the same Economic Club of Minnesota, which is a free trade organization, which Kristen Robbins was the executive director for years, and it's the richest people in Minnesota. You know about richest people? They don't have politics. They have money. That's where he came. He came here to present to that group of people. And then he went out to Maynard's restaurant out on Lake Minnetonka, and the people in the Wayzata crowd there stood up and clapped for him. I live in this area. These people hate President Trump as a group. As a group. The Republicans that live right here, they don't like President Trump. The leader of our party, Alex Plekish, lives in Wayzata. He's a Mike Pence Republican because he told me. A Nikki Haley Republican because he told me. I was on the board, the Republican board, that governs the area where Maynard's restaurant is. The person who's running that board right now, Kathy Folk, refused to endorse President Trump in the last cycle. I know the board members. They don't like President Trump. People that I know well call him a man-child, make fun of him. I mean, yeah, so they stood up and clapped for Scott Bessent. Oh, God, that's great. I'd clap for an official that was there, too. But let's not think these people support President Trump or this agenda. They do not. They do not. Now, again, because this is a Republican form of governance, and I mean philosophically, anyone can take a look at what's going on and change. And that's why I call Trump the great unmasker, because he's taken this PSYOP where we are not in charge, and he's letting everybody see. So my friend Rob Zackheim or Scott Moss or these people that serve on that board, Robbie Doobie, you might look at this and see how we've been getting robbed, and you might drop your bags and change. Scott Graham, who's on that board, showed up at that last community meeting, that last Wednesday, which we had, which you filmed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what he said to me? I didn't used to like Royce White, but he's the man of the hour. Now, if Royce is starting to change people, and Scott Graham's a good man, I like him. Always liked him. Always liked him. He stood up and spoke. He was the guy at the end that spoke. and was mad because he didn't get a lot of time to talk.
Yeah.
And I told him next time he's going to have all the time in the world. My point is this. Anyone can change. We've got to leave the door open for real unity because President Trump is destroying the PSYOP, or at least one part of it. There's other parts of the PSYOP he hasn't got to, and we're going to have to call him out on that. And Scott Bessent rolled in and met at the Economic Club with the richest people in Minnesota. You know, I don't really think they're dropping their bags because their bags are too filled with gold. If they drop them, they'll never pick them up again. So, but where else is he going to go? He's the Secretary of the Treasury. Down to the Caribou Coffee Shop? No, he's not going to do that, okay? So we're caught in a pretzel. We're pretzeled. Our brains are pretzeled. Our politics are pretzeled. We're in a Gordian knot. Let me make something. Have you ever heard the phrase Gordian knot?
No.
It's a knot that can't get untied.
Mm.
Okay? We're stuck. We're not going to do this in kind of a linear, logical way. The solution to this is not mathematical or scientific. The solution to this is spiritual. We have a spiritual disease. Why we, the people, would not go to caucus. Why we, the people, would give up our personal power. Why we, the people, would choose not to self-govern. Why we, the people, would take medicines and treatments and not get better and not use our God-given healing powers as if they don't matter, as if they don't exist. As we, the people, would ignore half the story of life because half the story has never been told. Why we, the people, would send our children into the freezing cold of a 15-degree Minnesota winter where there's people with guns that are shooting people. What kind of mothers do that? I'll tell you what kind of mothers. Mothers that believe that this government needs to be overthrown. Mothers that don't want a Republican form of governance. Mothers that view Republicanism as a symbol of the patriarchy. And that's just not true. Republicanism is for men and women, young and old, white, black, brown, red. If you're an American citizen and you adopt the philosophy of republicanism, you will engage. You will become more healthy. You will grow as a human being. You will find things about this life you didn't know existed just by committing to maintaining a republic and becoming a Republican in the philosophy of your life. Because the alternative is collectivism, Bolshevism, communism, poverty, death. One is a philosophy of life and light and love, and the other one is a philosophy of inventory, human inventory. So each of us have a decision we are going to make about our own personal power. You know, it's really not about politics, the Republican way. It's about well-being. That's why it says, a creator granted me unalienable rights. That means you can't take these rights away from me because it's in my meat. It's in my soul. The right to my life and my freedom, my liberty, in my pursuit of my way, my happiness, my Tao, the way I want to live. No one can dictate that for me. If I succeed, I succeed. If I fail, like Frank Sinatra, do you know who Frank Sinatra is?
Yeah.
Great, got one. Frank Sinatra, I did it my way. I did it my way. Even if I failed, I did it my way. And if we don't have failure, they can't be a success. So if I fail, I only define someone else's success, and that's good enough. And then what is a success? Money? Money is a success. Well, that's how we judge it. I'm watching this 58-year-old woman auditioning men by how much money they have. That's what she wants, a rich guy. Let me make a judgment, which I don't like to do. Disgusting. We've reached this point where love has become, now it was always there, okay? Let's just be frank. Since the cave, this has been the way it is. But there is true love. There is love and affection. There is commitment. There is a natural order that does not involve monetization. We're demoralized. I'm demoralized. I don't want to die like this. I do not want to die like this. I don't want to die like this. So every day I get up and I try to find a way to extricate myself from sin. I lay my sin upon the altar of my love for the Lord. I read that Psalm 27. David talked about the beauty of the Lord. I don't see it living in town, but you see it when you're out in the woods, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Get out into nature. Close your eyes when you're lifting weights. If you go to the club, incense every cell in your body. Center yourself. Become something that you're not in your mind. Connect with energy that's all around you. I don't want to sound like Yoda. It's going to get weird. But the reason Star Wars was so great is because there was truth in it. There is a force, a life force. And my role in my own life is to connect with it because it makes me well. It heals my diseases. It sets me free. It sets me free to see this PSYOP where I follow Adam Schwartzy and the next day I'm getting seal after seal after seal through my ex. I'm not saying Adam even knows about it, but he brags about the seal brand and how SEALs are getting elected to Congress. And I can see how they're doing it because it's coordinated. No, peace does not come through strength. No king is saved by an army. No horse will bring me to safety. But the Lord is my salvation. And I know it's true because there's things that I prayed for in 1987 with tears rolling down my eyes, with self-hatred. The only thing that kept me alive was I wouldn't kill myself. Praying for relief of problems and suffering in my life. And I look at my life now, and those problems have been healed. And they were not solvable problems. So I know that I don't control the timing, but I certainly control whatsoever I wish for when I pray. And I pray for the peace and the well-being of American citizens. I pray for the peace and well-being of American citizens. I believe in the peace and the well-being of the everyday American citizen. And I'm going to stand on my own peace and well-being. It's up to each one of us. It's not going to be found on Fox News. That's entertainment. The answer is inside of each one of us. We're at the threshold, as Tanner said, to civil war. Your marker is when the citizens start shooting back at the government.
Yep.
Okay. I wonder how long that's going to take when the money gets cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when you hit somebody in the pocketbook, if they're materialists, which obviously they are, if they're collectivists, when you take away their money, they got nothing to lose. Look at how that woman died. Her partner, her wife, drive, baby, drive, with armed agents, sacrificing her partner. Man, I'm not sending my wife to get shot. I'm not sending my kids into the cold to get shot. This violates the fundamentals of what it is to protect a family. So we're quite demoralized. I want to thank you for joining me. The emotion you feel in me is because it seems insoluble. It seems insoluble because I myself felt pride when all those Venezuelan and Cuban guards were killed by 20 Americans. I felt pride. I felt pride that their radar didn't work. I felt pride that all these coordinated attacks happened. I felt pride in the strength of my country. But it's not really strength. It's in the place where strength could be. I want to wish you a good night and a good weekend. I want to thank you for being here. I want to remind you, Minnesota Speaks every Thursday night, 7 p.m., competing with the podcast.
Yep.
Wow, that's why I left it for the end. You can catch Minnesota Speaks. I'm sure it'll be posted up, a recording of it. But please show up, actually, to Minnesota Speaks every Thursday from wherever in the country you are. I want to say hi to Skinny. Skinny's been showing up. So many different people. Laura. I want to give a special shout out to Amanda Hughes. She's been coming, and it's been great. Let's keep building that community. We got 3 weeks to caucus. Caucus, February 3rd. We need a surge of American citizens that want to reclaim their power to self-govern. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, everybody.